Opposed? Motion carries. New business. A, discuss and take action on Bill 2015-18, ordinance number 883, an ordinance for amendment to the City of Fairview, Tennessee budget for fiscal year 2014-2015 budget. Transfer in funds from street aid for the road loan in lieu of unassigned general funds expenditure.
Move to approve.
Second.
First and second, all in favor? Oh, discussion.
Yeah.
So let's talk about it.
Tom, yeah.
Any discussion?
Tom, you have anything on it?
No, sir. I was just kind of appalled. I was like, why are we not paying this out of state street aid? So anyway, that's why I did a rush. So I asked her if we could hold off on a payment until we had this meeting, and I was going to pay it out of another fund.
Yeah. Any other comments? No, that makes sense. Does that leave us still whatever money we have been discussing on the street aid? You know, I know we were talking about salaries and stuff like that.
The salaries, I've decided to leave all the salaries where they are. Really, the way the state looks at it, the state street aid is still in our general fund. So, really the only salary that would help us is if we took a salary out of the drug fund. But I think we're going to be okay. I'm fixing to bring another budget amendment. We're fixing to get started on the resurfacing, which that'll be this $72,000 for state street aid, and then another $54,000 state street aid, which that'll pretty much do this year's state street aid expenditures.
Okay. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item B, discuss and take action on new employee benefit plan. Mr. Tim White. Okay.
Does everybody have one up there?
Need two more?
Thank you.
Okay, this is inside your packet here. There is first thing I did is I got a copy of your current benefits just for reference. And really just as a real quick review, back in November, the plan was modified with Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Tennessee. That has been, in the past, November 1 has been your renewal date. When we renewed the plan at the time, the council had decided to look at it again July 1st to put it on the same time frame as the fiscal year. And that way, from a budget standpoint, you're dealing with a 12-month cycle of rates along with, that coincides with your budget. At the time, you did make some changes in November. You've got two options, but both with Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Tennessee. You've got a $4,000 deductible, $5,000 out of pocket on the base plan, which the city provides the base coverage for. There is a $10 generic, 30% brand, and a 50% non-preferred pharmacy card. And layered in with the plan is an HRA, which is your health reimbursement arrangement that the city reimburses, and that was one of the main components that was changed at renewal. Was we moved the reimbursement level down to 50%, and it was 50% of the first $4,000 being a common bucket, where dependents, it was essentially, if you had family coverage, it was first come, first serve on that particular bucket. The cost to the employee, I've got it broken down by per pay period, but the monthly cost is $75 to the employee. Two-person, it's $200, and for family coverage, it's $225. When I first thing that we did was request, if you'll tab over to behind the green, or I don't know, it's gonna green, bright yellow, however, the Blue Cross was willing to release a renewal off year, and the original renewal, which came back at 20%. Now, that's plan 1. Flip over to plan 2, and that particular plan was at 23%. After receiving competitive rates from United Healthcare, they were the only carrier that released rates. Blue did lower the rates, and the next 2 pages reflect where they lowered the rate from 20%. They essentially took 4.2% off of the plan designs. But still, if you're looking at a change off year, you're still dealing with an increase. If you'll tab over to behind the blue sheet, and that's kind of walk you through the process. The first thing that we did was, you look at we looked at how it would affect you currently. If you'll spreadsheet the current option with the renewal with 2 plan alternates, and really from a financial standpoint, if you'll flip over one more page, and there'll be a Blue Cross and Blue Shield rate page. Kind of gives you the breakdown. The finance, with Tom and had suggested that the employee cost be modified to reflect a different monthly contribution. That is at 100, 200, and 300. Really from you can kind of just take it on out to the monthly cost for the insurance itself. The bottom line annual would be, on that particular plan, would be $311,000. Add in the HRA utilization, which would be an additional $93,000, and that's at 50%. Your total to renew underneath your current arrangement with Blue Cross and Blue Shield is going to be right at $401,000. Now, one of the things that Commissioner Bissell had talked about, if you'll tab over one other, is just looking at plan designs. If you'll go right behind the purple tab, is just eliminating the HRA piece to see if it made sense to just put a core plan in without that HRA. That way you're not having to worry about any kind of variable cost during the year. And really, the rates, you're really going to have to make some adjustments to the plan. It's not going to improve it. You're looking at really, I highlighted the plan that kind of, that is the closest thing that can fit within the required budget amounts that I was given. And you're really putting more out-of-pocket expenses back on the employee. While you do have first aid benefits for your office visit, while you do not have the HRA, and you do have the better RX card, you still have a $3,000 deductible, and you're still looking at a $6,000 out-of-pocket max potentially for somebody on an individual basis. multiply that by 2 for family. So if somebody had a really bad year, you're looking at $12,000. So fortunately, if you'll tab over to the orange tab.
Can I stop you just a second?
Yes, sir.
Please. So this deductible, you're saying that's an individual deductible?
Right.
Okay, just want to make sure.
If it's for family, it's with Blue Cross and with United, it's 2 times the individual deductible and 2 times the individual out of pocket. United has got, if you'll look at the, behind the orange tab, United Healthcare actually released a very competitive proposal. It's a little different than what you're going to find with your traditional plans. And this plan right here does not have, would be without an HRA. So you would be accomplishing, you would be taking out the variable piece that, the unknown. I mean, you can always speculate and get really close, but you're taking that out of the equation. United's got a plan that and I would suggest doing 2 plans with United, but at the same time, but they're roughly the same cost. But the base plan that I'm referring to right here is kind of laid out. The rate for the individual is at $373. For 2-person, it's $783, and for family, it's $1,082.34. If you use the same employee contributions that I mentioned with the Blue Cross proposal, $100, $200, and $300 for individual, 2-person, and family, then you can take out the Fairview cost to monthly. You're looking at $32,586 monthly for the cost of the plan to the city of Fairview. Multiply by 12, you're at 12-month period, you're at $391.37, and that's without an HRA. It's a hard number based on the enrollment. You may have some people that that an individual that may take 2-person, or you may have a family that may drop to 2-person. There may be some few numbers on that, but as your enrollment is today, that's how the numbers would be. The plan design with this particular with United is $1,000 deductible. It is you have first day benefits on your office visit copays for your traditional family practitioner and for your OBGYN, and that would be a $15 copay. So day one, deductible is irrelevant. They go in, they present the card, it's $15 copay, lab X-ray injections. Same thing with the pharmacy, you've got first day benefits on the pharmacy, and the pharmacy is a 10/35/60 RX plan, which is similar to your better plan that you've got right now with Blue Cross and Blue Shield. Your base plan is the percentage plan. The nice thing about the rest of the way that this particular plan works is it is a deductible copay plan. Now, one thing that you get into some of these newer plans, one thing that's different about this plan as opposed to a traditional copay plan, it does not have a specialist copay first day. You'd actually have to meet that $1,000 deductible, and then you would pay the copay for specialists at that point in time. So it's encouraging people to use primary care physicians in lieu of specialists. But once you hit that $1,000 threshold, then it's a $45 copay. Now the nice thing about it is that in addition to just your specialist, everything becomes a copay. So if you had to have inpatient hospitalization, you'd pay the deductible, and then the person would pay a $500 copay. So if they spent 10 days in the hospital, they're going to pay $1,500, and that $1,500 goes towards their $2,500 out-of-pocket max. So where you got a traditional plan where, you know, if you had an out-of-pocket at, you know, at let's just say it's 2,500, because that's what this is. If it was a traditional plan, you'd blow all the way through to that 2,500 max if you were in the hospital for 10 days. So what this does is just stop the, you know, no pun intended, but stop the bleeding, you know, from, you've got, you know, once you hit that deductible, you're paying flat copays. In outpatient, if you had outpatient, you know, any kind of outpatient surgery, which, you know, even heart surgery is done on an outpatient basis these days, you're looking at a $1,000 deductible, and then it is a $250 copay. So, you know, where somebody would have to go through that entire, you know, hit that entire out-of-pocket max, they're through at $1,250. Now, in order to combat the specialist, let's say that somebody did have a, you know, a specialist that they went to in this plan. There is another, if you'll flip over one page more, there is a traditional, and it's the second one down. It's a $2,000 deductible, $4,000 out of pocket. It has the $25 office visit copay for the family practitioner, but it also has the $50 specialist. So if somebody really wanted a, you know, that specialist copay, they could choose this plan instead. Now the nice thing about it is it's going to cost the same to the city of Fairview regardless if they choose, you know, this plan or the other plan, because if you look at the rate, I mean, it's almost to, I mean, it's within $1, you know, it's a 372 rate versus a 373 rate. So just from an administrative standpoint, I would keep everything, you know, keep both plans the same on the employee contribution and just allow them to choose, you know, if a specialist is something that they go to and that's what, you know, would fit their needs more, then they've got the opportunity to choose that option. A couple of other things, I guess, you know, they don't do the COBRA admin. It's not built in with United Healthcare, but we've got our own COBRA administration that we would take care of for you guys for the city at no additional expense. I guess, you know, from we've got, and this is not a, you've got other municipalities and utility districts that are also on United and really if you're looking at pros and cons, the one thing that's going to be the biggest adjustment will be the pharmacy piece. And I included the pharmacy in the back, and part of the reason that their pharmacy is a little bit different is that they price their $10, $35, and $60 copays based on price. So if it's a very, very expensive prescription, then it's going to fall in the $60 bucket, as opposed to Blue Cross and Blue Shield, who price it with generic, brand, and non-preferred. So somebody may have a generic prescription that goes to the $60 copay. The other thing that, and this is any time that you make a transition, there's things that you've got prior authorizations and things that will have to be approved, you know, on the pharmacy piece, but we'll be able to help those individuals make that transition. The last thing that is you're looking at pros and cons, other than price, you know, but the benefit is, I mean, it is much better. You're also eliminating the network problem. You know, with Blue Cross and Blue Shield with the S network, you have if someone were to go to any of the TriStar facilities, meaning you know, Skyline, Centennial, Summit, if they were to go to Sarah Cannon, you know, all those facilities are out of network with Network S, with your current plan. With United, they don't have those, they have everyone. They've got Vanderbilt Baptist, St. Thomas, all the TriStar facilities. They got, you know, your local physicians along with, you know, DMA, and so you're actually picking up more accessibility on the United Healthcare front. Tried to keep it, there's a lot of moving parts. I've tried to keep it to where it's be informative, but also not, they want to bog you down with all the details, but the details do matter.
Tim, it looks like on both plans, the cost to the employee goes up and the cost to us goes up. Is that correct? We couldn't find anything, no? Okay.
Well, it
Blue
does.
Cross.
I mean, you know, now, you could stay with your current plan.
Right. Yeah, we could.
Yeah, and rock on to November, but,
Yeah.
I mean, but from right now, with, you know, due to, you know, with Blue Cross, I mean, there was a reason they released the rates that it's all based upon claim activity. And, you know, so, you know, you look at, we got a declination from Cigna and Aetna. I looked at all carriers, so, you know, from that you can in your particular group size. And, you know, United was the only one that released a proposal. Unfortunately, it was competitive. But, you know, I even, you know, Blue Cross was given the opportunity. They lowered the rates one time, but, you know, they're right there where they're at. They're not moving. So,
Can I address that, Tim? I think what you have to look at also is when you combine our rates with the HRA, it's considerably over $400,000. So that's the HRA is. I mean, this is the 391 is the total, whereas on the other we're looking 425, 450. If that makes sense, if that helps.
I think if you, and I could go back and look, but in 2013, you spent, you know, right at $450,000 on about the same amount of people. So, I mean, when you say is it less or more, I mean, you know, comparing it to 2013, it's less.
Right.
But, you know, as far as where we were at last year with trying to stay within the budget, I mean, that's what prompted the changes in November. So, really, it's kind of flat. I've got a history of all the rates, and really the rates they haven't fluctuated that much. But it's the HRA that ran hot between 2013 and 2014 that kind of pushed the expenses up.
Yeah, I'm looking at what you gave me in front of me, and I was looking at this rate versus the two that are offered. And when the employee cost goes up and our cost goes up, that's what I'm talking about. But I understand the insurance is a better deal. I mean, we get more coverage, and you know, it doesn't cost. But now I don't have the total amount because this did not have. I didn't see our costs on here, so I don't have that. But just looking at what you gave me.
Well, if the current costs are on that account management sheet on the first page, on that, you know, with blue,
Right.
and it kind of gives you the counts, and you know your current rates are if you it doesn't matter if you're looking at the original or the revised renewals, they're going to have both your current rates on there. And you know, the current rates are at on the base plan are 243, 487, and 709. But that doesn't have the, that rate it does not have the, doesn't have the HRA exposure built into the equation either.
Tom, city's out of pocket this current fiscal year, is it gonna top 400,000?
I'll have to double check, but it's gonna be real close.
Is it gonna top 391?
It's gonna be close. But what we also do is, we're paying a lot of that 13, 14. Was that 5 months, Tim? With that renewal being in November, it's really hard to budget for, because you're paying part of
But
last year.
under the new plan, we know 391 is gonna be a solid figure,
Based on your counts.
unless we have families that have a lot of children born or just things happening, as it sits right now.
As it sits right now.
Did the committee, did they lean towards one of the plans or the other?
We met on this several times throughout this year, and Commissioner Russell has done research on trying to get out of the HRA fund, that variable piece. And the thing is, you're with that HRA, you're driving down your premium, but you're also taking on the risk. It's a good deal if nobody's sick. But when people start going to the doctor a lot, then you're eating into your HRA, and anyways, you just, if your numbers, it's good if you're a healthy group. It's very expensive on the city if you have a lot of claims. So we wanted to get out of that speculation and move to more of a traditional plan. Now this was very exciting to Mr. Hall and Mr. Commissioner Russell and myself, because it had a lot of the biggest thing that we were concerned about this year is just the out-of-pocket money every time somebody had to go to the doctor, and this has co-pays all the way through it.
Did any of that discussion involve the FRC, or was that just the three of y'all?
This was the three of us I'm not sure, how long ago was that, Mr. Hall? It was,
About 3 weeks ago.
and I can't remember if it was ever brought up at a meeting, at an FRC meeting.
I don't believe it was. Do you remember, Commissioner Russell?
I know I had made at least 2 other presentations at the meetings, at the FRC meetings, about where Tim and I were going in terms of researching and trying to eliminate the HRA, and that's increased the, the benefits to the employees. But I don't think we've had a meeting since the 3 of us.
And I think did I email out a copy of what Tim sent, or did I email out?
Well, I sent a summary to everybody.
Okay, yeah, I did remember that.
Yeah, besides Commissioner Basell, I don't recall seeing anything. And y'all talked about insurance, but the actual plan has not ever gone in front of the, they didn't look at the options or choices. They just, as I recall, Commissioner Basell just, discussed what he had been looking into and some of the conversations.
The plan that coincides with our fiscal year, which means deductibles and everything does not reset January 1, correct?
That's right. It's
Okay.
gonna run from 7/1 to 6/30.
You got it, Tim.
So the question would be, it started over in January 1st, right? Did we renew?
Last year's deductible ran from 11/1 to 10/30, would run from 11/1 to 10/31. But, so this plan is gonna also be on a plan year as well. It would run from July 1st to June 30th.
But we're gonna be under this plan for just 6 months, right? The one that we're under right now? The one we're under
The
right
plan
now?
we're under right now ends June 30th.
That's right.
Okay, so
This
that's 6
one
months.
starts- This one start,
Yep.
no, that's,
Help me out here.
That's more than 6 months.
8 months, yeah. So what about the difference in the deductible that they're gonna have met already?
Lose it.
Yeah, they start over.
That's what, just a question, because
no matter what.
I've already
it
been
starts-
asked that.
It
so.
starts July 1st.
You could do it two different ways, but you could set it up to where that you receive deductible credit. But if you do that, then your deductible is gonna be on a calendar year. And your benefits are going to be, your renewal and everything is gonna be on a July 1. So you got that option.
Everything needs to be on the fiscal year. I totally agree with that.
If, to keep it, but you could do it that way, but really to simplify things and eliminate, confusion, you can, you do the plan year and 2 years ago, you weren't able to do a plan year with United. Now you can, so, but it would, everything would run from July 1 to 6, to June 30th.
That would be my question on it. I don't know how everybody else feels about it, but if you've already met your deductible for a year, and then you're gonna start over again in 2-3 months,
Well, I guess.
brand new deductible. That was the only question I had. So they're just gonna lose that part. I mean,
Well,
that's the answer's answer.
Really, in the past, though, keep in mind, though, that every expense that anybody had outside of pharmacy was a deductible expense, but the city, the city was paying half of the deductible. So,
Well, and the other thing, under the existing plan or the current plan, the deductible is $4,000. We're going to a $1,000 deductible.
That's right.
So still, they may not have met the whole $4,000. So still could save them some money.
and the out-of-pocket
It's just a
max,
question that we need to answer.
Sure.
out-of-pocket
absolutely.
max was at 5. So, even though you had a deductible at 4, your exposure wasn't over until you hit 5 with your current plan.
25 apiece for a family, 5 for a family.
Ms. Brooks is here, and we asked that about, and it looked like she just kind of showed that she might have something to say. If y'all don't mind, I'd like to hear what she had to say.
I just wanted to let you know what the number is we're projecting to spend this year is $362,924, which means that this would be an increase of $28,000. But if Tom can work that into his budget, I think we probably should go for it because it takes that unknown liability that we have out of it.
Right now, it's just open-ended.
Yep.
Is 362 gonna include the HRA?
Based on claims.
Yes. The premiums we paid we're projecting to pay is $463,178, and the employee contributions is $100,254. So that leaves a net of $362,924.
But then we have to pay the HRA on top of that.
Right.
No, that includes that. It's $89,000 of the HRA.
No, that can't be.
Do you? Tom, have you been able to, do you know offhand if that's correct, or I mean, she's looking up her number, but,
I'm gonna go pull up some numbers if you want me to. I didn't bring anything out here on that.
Would that number be without changing the renewal, though? I mean,
hang on, we'll have to ask.
I can figure it. I think the number she's got is without changing the renewal. She's leaving it in November at the same rates.
Yeah, they probably can't hear her.
We have it up in the revenue line.
Do we do that?
It's not gonna be done this year.
I thought it was just to be a flow through. I thought that's what.
So even whether or not knowing the answer to that 100%, oh wait, she's got something else. Hey, will you talk in the mic though, because,
It's 100,000. I didn't know if,
But the employee,
this would,
the employee contributions though, you have the dental and that also, that's everything they contribute.
I didn't know. You had this employee volunteer insurance contributions, and I didn't know where that falls.
Yeah, Tom would have to answer. What we're saying is that you take the total cost and how it's shown in the reports, there is the possibility that some of that total cost, we've taken into revenue the employee contributions that would offset some of that cost. So $463,000 is what we've outlaid, but there is a dollar amount that the reports don't show exactly, that is the employee's contribution to that, and we have to go back and figure it. And that's what we were discussing. But in the employee contribution revenue line is also our employees pay all of their vision and part of their dental. So we'd have to get those numbers and break it down. So I suppose it is possible that our actual outlay could be slightly increased. However, we lose the contingent liability of another $93,000 because if we offer it, we don't know what will happen. And then I think there was a discussion about it's costing the employees more per their paycheck. Yes, for a family, which is the most expensive, it will cost them an additional $900 this year for their insurance. However, their deductible is dropping from $4,000 to $1,000.
yeah.
And it's even dropping, and without the HRA that we pay, which is $2,000, it's even dropping from $2,000 to $1,000. So under the most expensive circumstance, the employee actually, if they use the insurance, they actually make $100. It's $100 cheaper for them for a lot better insurance. So the employee, now if they don't use the insurance, it's like any of us, you know. Till I had teenage drivers at home, I never made a claim on my car insurance, and then suddenly I was glad I had car insurance. So, you know, it's just one of those, insurance is one of those things you pay for peace of mind. So,
Tom, would you say the United plan is recommended by staff?
I can speak for me, I recommend it.
I do too. I'll make a motion to approve the United plan. Second.
Okay, we have a first and second. Tom, I would like to hear the rest of your comments and your opinion. What were you about to say? He asked you and you started saying aye, and then we went into motion. Why is this the better plan? Why do you like this one? I just want your opinion.
It's fixed cost. I believe it's very 2-to-1 better policy for our employees, probably 3-to-1 than what we have. And it's also on our budget cycle. I don't feel like we'll have any hiccups or didn't know that was coming. I think it's just going to be straightforward policy, and it's going to be, there are going to be a few little things, that, like she said, with the prescriptions that we'll work through, but I think it's going to be well received. And in today's crazy health insurance world, I am just tickled to death to have a rock solid policy like this to offer to our employees, and at the price that we have. And UHC, I was talking to Tim about it, I said, why, how can they beat Blue like this? And they're just aggressive. And, they're in that mode, and I've also heard, and I don't know if I should share this, or maybe Tim will, but I think, we get in with this, we may get to do something similar the next year. So I'm excited about that as well. I guess that's about it.
Okay,
May I say something?
yes,
I like the fact of the HRA, which has been an unknown, because I've heard Tom say, well, we had $7,000 out today for HRA. But it's also a much better policy for the employees, which of all anything that I had a question from the employees last year was the policy that we had to go with last year. This is a much better policy, in my opinion, for the employees this year. And I like the fact of the $1,000 deductible plus the $2,500 top end deductible.
okay, and what, if you could state again, Commissioner Johnson, what plan are you, what option are you choosing that we're voting on? So the whole, and all these are all options for each employee, and they pick their options.
The two specifically that you mentioned are the one that's on the first page, that is the primary advantage plan that I've highlighted at the top, okay?
Yeah,
And then if you flip over to the next page, either plan, but the one I mentioned was the second one, which has, it's the 2,000, 4,000 arrangement, which,
That was the one that carried the specialist,
right,
and that was the employee's option to carry that.
right.
That is my motion.
okay, so the second one,
Blue has TW 58 in
okay,
front of it.
well, that's not, gotcha. So, but out of that, would they get the two both highlighted, or it's just 58 and that's it? Are they getting choices, like, to pick the plan? So those two that are highlighted, TW 67 and TW 58 are the two choices, or,
You could offer 3 plans, but I mean, you know, that would be up to y'all. I mean, I don't know that I would offer all 3. You've got to, that's up to y'all.
now, I'm just trying to make sure it's clear where I know what we're voting on, so I was just wondering,
TWAL and TW 58.
Okay.
Two policies.
They're on the second page.
They're on
yeah,
separate pages.
okay,
That's-
gotcha, and that's what you're, okay. Okay.
So could you turn back to the Blue Cross Blue Shield tab just for a second? I think you said one of these was showing maybe what we have now with the HRA, and then one of these was without the HRA.
Help me where.
I'm behind the blue tab, about 2-3 pages back.
Okay.
Actually, it is the second and third page behind the blue tab. I may have misunderstood you, but I thought on the first one that we're looking at, page 2, I thought you said that was with us continuing the HRA, and then this.
All of these plans that are, you got on, behind the very, it's got a, where it says BCBST HRA, those are all have the
Okay.
HRA, you know, with it. So you're looking at an annual premium plus what you expect. So like on that first arrangement, you know, you're at 401, and that's at just 50% utilization. Then the second arrangement, you're at 357 on the premium, and another 69 on the expected HRA. And the reason I ran that 3-4 arrangement is because trying to get the plans, trying to compare you an HRA plan that was more comparable to that UHC, plan design. I mean, you can't match them, an apple to an apple with the way that they're apples and oranges. But to get close to that, to what that plan design and how it functions with UHC, you'd have to go to that 3,000, 4,000 arrangement with Blue, which would put you at 357 on the premium. And then an additional, let's just call it 70. You're at 427. With that is if your HRA is at 50%. So if you have a good year, maybe less. But if you have a bad year and it runs at 65%, then that's that variable piece. And so I use 50% because that's an average. We've got over 100 different groups that have businesses that have HRA, HRA plans in place. And that is about where they run somewhere between 45 and 50%. And I would much rather be conservative in the estimate than not.
What would this plan look like if you took the HRA component out of it, in terms of, would it just be on the first page, the 311, the total annual, 311,000, on the second page, the 357?
The first page?
Yes, sir.
Help me out, where can I see where you're at?
The second page behind the blue tab. Behind the B, Blue Cross Blue Shield tab, HRA.
Okay, so we're looking at the 3,000, 4,000 arrangement, the rate being 350.11.
Yes.
I mean, if you just took the HRA out and you didn't do any HRA at all, then you see the premium cost. It's going to cost you $357. Without any HRA, it's going to cost you $357,000.
That's what I was asking.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the page before that, it would be 311,000. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct. And really what you're doing there is that's your current plan design on that page, but it's actually it's not the base plan, it's the buy plan that you have right now. The base plan that you have, you've only got a few people that are on it, and the reason that you've got so few on it is because it's a very restrictive pharmacy formulary.
I guess the difficult thing for me right now is just, and I understand insurance costs go up every year. Mine went up this year too. My premiums and my deductible didn't, but if I wanted to keep the same deductible, my premium went up. And it sounds like that the cost to the city is going up, as is the cost to the employee. Is that a true statement?
Well, if I could put a graph up, I could show you historically that, you're really kind of going back to where you were, so you took a big dip down, and then your costs in 2013, they probably exceeded, they were at $450,000. Then they readjusted, they changed the plan design was changed, and they're, due to the, so it was, the plan was completely different too. There was some pretty significant plan design changes back in November. Now I've got I've got all your information all the way back to 2006. So, you got to look at 2006, you probably had 35 employees, and today you've got 55.
Right.
So, I mean, you know, there's, you know, so did your costs increase? Yeah, but I mean, but you've also, remember, there's some things that you've done that didn't have anything to do with, you know, the actual premium.
And we can't really compare an 8-month to a 12-month plan either, because we didn't have the full, even though, I mean, I get what you're saying, the cost is, you're saying 450 now, so, and that was for 8 months. So if we're comparing it to this, you know, it's obviously a better deal, yes.
Well, that would have been for the year though, right? That would have been for the year. That wouldn't have been 8. That would
It
have been 8
was for a
months.
12 month, okay.
Yeah.
I thought since we ran the plan for 8 months, okay, sorry about that.
I can get you that real quick,
And-
though.
Yeah, go ahead.
And something else, and I keep going back to it, that it's hard to look at, is our numbers are not gonna match Tim's numbers, because his is from 11/1 to 10/31, and ours is from July 1 to June 30th. So when we show our numbers, or, you know, that shows on our audit, it's a split renewal time. So, and that's why it's so hard to budget for, because rates can change during your budgeting in March, April, May, getting ready for your rates. Well, you don't know. Then Tim and them come around in September and say, well, let's get ready to renew. And now we don't know. We've already put in the budget what we think we're going to pay. Well, what if rates go up 20%? Then it's in, and then what do you do the rest of the 7 months of the year? So that's why I'm so excited about having it on our calendar budget year.
Well, I agree we need to get rid of the HRA component. I mean, absolutely, because that's just, there's too much fluctuation. It sounds like that may be why there's been significant difference in costs in the past and even this year. But surely we know at this point in the year what we've paid for insurance. And we have that number.
Sure.
So I guess with that
Would you like me to
number-
go get it?
No, but I'm just saying, if we know that number, and I think we have that, I think I have that number on the sheet that Donna just spoke about. It still appears like that it's gonna be, even taking into account what you just said, that we switch policies in November, it still appears like it's gonna be more expensive next fiscal year, and that may be, you know, it sounds like we're getting a better policy. And by all means, I want the employees to have the best policy available. I guess the question is, with the, where we are now, and there's still a level of uncertainty as in terms of financially where we're gonna be at the beginning of next fiscal year, can we afford it? I guess that's the question. That's what I'm struggling with, because we still don't really have a lot of answers.
Well, in the exact opposite way you're asking that question, I asked that initially. And he said our cost for last year is gonna be right at $400,000. And I asked him, what about 391? He said it would be that or more. So in essence, this next year's insurance plan is gonna cost us less than we paid in this current fiscal year. So I don't see how you can say that it's costing more when it's gonna cost us less, and it's a solid number, 391, it's not gonna go above that. If that is the case, it's gonna cost us less. If it costs us $400,000 this year for insurance and $450,000 the 2013 budget, if next fiscal year is gonna be 391, it's less than the prior two. So how's it going up?
It didn't cost us that. It didn't cost us, the numbers that you're saying are not what it cost us. You're saying it cost us, this policy will cost us $391,000. We know what that number will be. The numbers that we have from this year show that the cost was, so far would be $362,000, and that number may go, that may change just a little bit depending on the dental, like Commissioner Vassell was talking about earlier, the dental and vision.
Well, actually, it's 463,000 minus whatever the employee contribution turns out to be.
Well, I'm talking about what the cost of the city is. I understand that there's an employee contribution, but I'm talking about the cost of the city. If the cost of this new policy is $391,000, and we are going to pay $362,000 this year, then it's going up.
We don't know that. That's why I asked him that question. And out of that $100,000 we have floating of employee costs, we don't know how much of that's gonna deduct from that 400. And
Surely we know that. We're in May almost. Surely we know what we're gonna spend for insurance this year.
Do you mind if I go get the number?
No, please.
Thank you.
I can tell you right now what you're spending on the employee, the city's portion of it. Just on the, it'll be close.
While you're calculating that, Mr. Hall's been wanting to say something, so I'll let you get that for us. and
I'll
we'll
let them
him-
talk the numbers, but opening this up to other hospitals to go to, we got to take in mind that TriStar is building a state-of-the-art emergency room within 15 minutes of our town. That'd be something you might ought to put into the equation also, because, and if we get the TriStar clinic here that they're talking about, our employees can actually go there now, rather than have to drive. Just take, for instance, in a life-threatening situation, we can be at a state-of-the-art emergency room in 15 minutes, where if we went to St. Thomas, you'd still be 30, 35, 40 minutes getting there, so opening this up into other areas that they can go have service is something you might ought to consider also.
Like I said, I want to vote for this. I just, and it's a great policy. I wished I had this policy. I guess I could have this policy as a commissioner, but I've declined to have this policy because I don't think we can afford for me to have this policy. So that's what I'm trying to figure out with the uncertainty still surrounding the financial situation going into next fiscal year. Should we be looking at a policy that's going to increase the cost of the city, if that in fact is happening? I think it is.
All right, let's look at it from this standpoint. If we kept the current plan exactly what we have right now, what would be the increased cost to the city?
15%.
So on top of what we pay. So this new plan is cheaper. And if Commissioner Crutcher, what you're saying is you want the employees to keep the good insurance like they have, instead of taking, and you've got to make up for taking away the HRA from them, because that's costing the employees more money up front. I think the 391 is going to be a cheaper plan to the city, and it's going to keep the employees happy because they're going to have good insurance. Every time we turn around, we're losing police officers and firemen because we don't pay them enough in comparison to what they can make at all these cities around us.
I disagree. I think we're competitive on our salaries. I think the salaries that we're paying now after the restructure, and I think we're competitive. Absolutely.
I tell you what, you take a starting salary from Metro Nashville, Brentwood, and Franklin, we're not in the ballpark.
Yeah,
Well,
but
we're
you
not
got a
Metro.
population.
We're not Metro Nashville or Franklin or Brentwood.
Where are they going to work? Those
Well,
three places I
sure,
just named.
every small municipality deals with that. But I'm talking about comparable municipalities. I think we pay our employees well. I don't think you can't compare us to Franklin or Brentwood or Metro. Yeah, I think every municipality deals with losing employees to higher pay to those bigger cities.
I talked to the chief from Brentwood the other day, they're losing people to Metro.
I'm sure Metro pays well.
44, I think, is their starting salary. I mean, even Brentwood is losing to them.
Well, I mean, I think like Commissioner Crutcher says, we're always going to lose, but you got to compare the population and the size and the, crime. If you want to work close to home in a safe, area, and, I think there's perks. I could go to Nashville and work every day and make a lot more money, but I choose to stay here. So there's choices. We can't say, I think we have a very competitive,
We just need to give them the best plan we can afford.
and, that's fine. That's,
That's the part, the last part of that, I agree, that we can afford. As long as I know we can afford it, and Tom says,
If it's not an unusual increase, or if it's the same, or, the HRA just is wide open. It just leaves it sitting there, we don't know how much it could be at the end of the year. This way, we're looking at a premium, we know, you can write a check for right now, $391,000. And that's it, unless you add or deduct people.
What's the current figure, 360 what?
362,924.
yeah. Did you have a number for us, Mr.?
Plus 15 for what?
The premium would go up 15% from 360.
That would make it 416 if we kept that plan. And we're having this one at a cap rate of 391. To me, that's saving the city money.
If we stayed with the HRA, if we kept the HRA too.
Right.
What I'm saying, it sounds like to me that this is, I guess, sort of a top-of-the-line plan. The one we have now is not so good because we have that HRA component and the deductible size. Is there anything in the middle?
I mean, yes, from a, HRA was reimbursing 100%.
First 4,000.
That's right. So when they, if you're comparing it to where they are, I mean, we went from a really nice plan to the changes that were made in November to a whole lot different than what they had before.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking. Is there anything in terms of plan options that are between that really nice plan and the one we changed to in November?
You've got to, look at the first primary advantage plan that they have, below, you're at a, you can see where that plan is. It's at a 346 rate. It's really all what you want to put,
Right.
what you want to,
We, oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
We made an adjustment last October to begin in November to cut the HRA in half because it was killing us. And that moved a financial burden to our employees of $2,000. We want to compare, or we seem to want to compare what we paid last year for this year's product. And I don't know of any environment where when you're doing comparative shopping, you get to compare what you paid last year to this year's product. You get to compare what's out there this year. Now, what we know is that if we took the policy, which already created a burden for our employees, both in the deductible and in the pharmaceutical reimbursement, if we roll that policy over, we're looking at $311,000 plus a contingent liability that could be as much as $180,000 according to Tim's information. He's estimating 50% or $90,000, $93,000, but it could be $180,000. So if we use the estimate, it's going to be $404,000 if the estimate is on the mark. We ain't made the estimate in 3 years. We've exceeded the estimate every year. And as one of our objectives has been to hold on to our employees. When you hold on to your employees, they get older, they get married, they have children, and the insurance cost of supporting those employees goes up. Not to mention, as your workforce gets older, they have illnesses that they didn't have when they were 20 years old and police officers came, stayed 6 months, and then took off. Went somewhere else for a bigger department. So, from where I sit, that we're actually going to pay less for a better product if we go with United Healthcare over what we paid if we rolled over. Now, what I hear Commissioner Crutcher talking about, and please correct me if I'm wrong, is further cutting the benefits of our employees. And while I do not believe that we necessarily should or ever will be able to compete on a salary level with the Franklin or Brentwood or Nashville or anything like that, I do think years ago the city made the decision, long before any of us were serving, that we would be strong in our benefits to our employees, and that would be part of the overall compensation package. Our average employee makes less than $40,000 a year. That includes all the directors, Wayne, you had everybody up. A deductible of $4,000 is 10% or greater than 10% of their gross income. Now, we all may make a different amount in here, but if you had to take 10% of your gross income and put it into something before you got any benefit out of it, I'm not sure I would consider that supporting me if my employer put me in that position. Now, I think it's different from somebody that's self-employed. I think you make a lot of decisions about yourself that you want to do. But people that go to work for somebody else, there is especially for the government, there is an implied contract that the government is going to provide you less wage, but a stronger benefits package. And so I hear what you say, and I hear what Donna says, and she's absolutely right. The actual money that goes out the door from this year will be an increase. But if you just roll it over, it won't be. You're getting a much better policy for the employees for, I'm estimating maybe $15,000, $20,000 less. So that's my first point. And then my second point, and I'll go back to being quiet, is that at the workshop, we delegated all of this to the city manager. The first proposal that was put forth was that we would retain jurisdiction over this. But we didn't do that. We didn't choose that course of action. We gave him $4.2 million, which was the number we determined was the appropriate amount for him to have based upon this year's revenue of $4.5 million. They've not made a presentation to us. So if Tom and Wayne come forward and say, this is the insurance policy we want to provide and we can do it, I'm not sure why we're into this discussion about whether or not we can do that. We delegated that to them, and they haven't presented us with anything. They haven't come back and asked for more money. They haven't come back anything other than endorsing this particular policy.
That's my problem. I haven't seen any numbers from them yet. That's what I thought we were going to see tonight.
But if they come back under $4.2 million, what do you care? You delegated that to them. That's what I don't understand.
I want to see the numbers. I want to see the budget. I want to see the proposed budget. I wanted to see this before tonight. It's helpful to. It would have been helpful to have this before tonight.
I think there's federal law mandating the employees have to know this before the budget's passed, so they can.
Well, they
That's
have to know
fine.
we're going to change. They don't have to know the
That's the only
particulars.
reason we're
Yeah.
getting this ahead of that.
That's fine, but I thought we were going to see that tonight at some point. But apparently that's not happening now. So I just want to see a full picture of where we're headed next fiscal year. If Mr. Hall and Mr. Doherty believe that this is going to fit into their $4.2 million, then so be it. That's fine. I think I have a right to ask questions about whether this is an increase or a decrease in what we paid this past year. I think I have a right to ask that. I think I have a right to ask what type of plan this is compared to what plan we have now. And you're right. First of all, I don't want to decrease the benefit to the employee. What I asked was, is there something in between the benefit that the employee receives now and the benefit that we're going to if we vote for this policy? That's what I asked. So that would still be better insurance than what they currently have that they apparently changed in November to when I wasn't on this board. So I'm not asking to decrease their benefit. I'm just simply asking, is there something in between? I have one proposal in front of me, and that's your motion. I'm asking, is there something else? And I think you answered my question. There's some other policies underneath there that aren't highlighted that we could look at. That would be sort of in between where we are now And the best plan, I wished I had this plan. I do. My wife has our insurance. She works, she makes about $36,000 a year at St. Thomas. Our deductible is about $4,000. I get it. It's not good. I know we want to have great insurance. I just want to make sure that it's going to fit into to where we're going financially next year. And we're trying to find places to save money, and it sounds like every time I come up here, we're spending more money. Something's increasing.
Tom, is there any insight? I know we're not seeing the budget tonight, but is there anything that you can tell us about, from what y'all have been working on, with this, would we be able to take this increase, and is it workable still in your budget?
We're not gonna have a $4.2 million budget. And if y'all believe that, I know you don't. We can't spend money like we spent over the last 5 years and build up our infrastructure like we've done, and have spent well over that amount, up to $700,000-800,000, and come up with that. And I'll be as frank as I can. We can attack this thing, increase revenue, or cut. And when I say cut, I mean you're cutting jobs, you're cutting services, you're cutting. I need $1 million. I need it now. I need to turn it around. Turn this ship around. I'm going to present $500,000 in the debt restructuring. We need to find $400,000 somewhere. I'm going to propose a 22-cent property tax increase. And then I think between other things we have, between the Williamson County interlocal agreements, we're looking at some other things as far as building permit rate increases. I think we can get the other 100,000. But the only other way to go is if you either increase your revenue or you cut your spending. You know, I've been asked, do you have any unnecessary positions? And I feel like every position is necessary. You know, if we're going to cut something out, probably the only thing that I see is not, I mean, you can't cut your public safety. That brings everybody in. You got to keep your insurance ratings. You got to keep, we're got a good rating as far as, I think we're rated 11th friendliest city in the, I mean, not friendliest, but 11th safest in the state. You know, we need, I feel like that's probably the last place we need to cut. I say, maybe if we want to close the park for a year or two, that'd be about $400,000 a year. We could run some, it could be a nature park. We could run some police officers over there, keep it open. Is that what I want to do? No. But, and then, if y'all want to handpick who gets let go, we could do that.
Who has asked you that question
Ask what?
about unnecessary positions?
I've just heard it in meetings. So I guess when I bring it, I'm about solution and getting it done and this moving forward. Now we've got all kinds of opportunity ahead of us. We've got rooftops, which is what's going to really bring us out of this. There's been a lot of expense that's been made getting us ready for this day. And then when the recession hit back in 2008, we already had, I think the city already had it out there and was already committed to a lot of expenditures, but this is where we are now. And just in my opinion, I think we can hit it either way y'all want to hit it. I just feel like it's gonna, you're looking at $360,000 stabilization plan, which I think was about the smartest thing we could have done. But, as we go through, if we want to dedicate a tax increase, let's dedicate it to the park. Say this 400,000, because it always struggles for a revenue stream. Every other fund has a revenue stream. The park does not. We can say, well, this $400,000 is going to the park, and we're gonna take care of this park. Plus, we keep taking on more park property, and there's never any increase in revenue. We want all of our guys. We want you to cut this park, that park, and that park, but we want to pay you the same amount as we paid you when you cut just one park. And it's like that all around this whole city. And the service is going up, but the revenue is staying here, or even a lot of times going down. I looked at the property tax over the last 36 years. We've been at 63.5 cents or lower only 24% of the time. The rest of the time, we've been above that at 36. I'm looking around all the cities around us, Dixon, Kingston Springs, Clarksville, everywhere other than Williamson County have a higher property tax rate than us. So I guess I'm just saying it may be time, or it may be time to, I guess these little numbers, I want the board to understand it's a big number issue for us to get where we really need to be. We can whittle at it and whittle at it and whittle at it, but I don't know the way. It seems like as we whittle and whittle, then something big hits us, knocks us back, and then whittle. So I think something major needs to happen to get us going in the right direction. But I did not anticipate saying that tonight, but that's where I am with the budget. I've got pretty much all the numbers. I have with Travis. He slid his numbers under the door during the meeting, and I'm gonna try to get those in. But he's wanting to do a lot of changes. I'm excited about some of the things he's wanting to do, but I told him, I doubt we'll be able to do any of them, but we're gonna look at them. But as far as the numbers Donna said, I come up with, it is going to cost about $28,000 more on that policy than what we're anticipating paying this year. And if rooftops take off, and and then sales tax picks up a little bit, but it's a bigger number. It's a big number. We need that. Just to give you an idea where we are, we're at that maintain level. Yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I thought he was going to speak out, and I've been holding Shannon off to let you finish, so I just wanted to kind of let him know. But go ahead and finish.
Well, our revenues are right there where we're maintaining our expenses. Now, our debt takes us into the hole, and then anything else we want to do, like save money, put back for reserves, takes us in the hole. So as our revenue increases, we need to be putting it towards these other places. We need to try to maintain, but right now, if we're going to decrease our standard of living, we need to make that decision, or if we want to increase our revenue. It's just, that's kind of where I am with it.
Okay, Shannon.
Thank you.
Commissioners.
The $4.2 million that we've talked about giving to you and Mr. Hall to do your budget, from what I'm hearing you say now, or I think I heard you say, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, is that's not realistic.
Based on what I've seen,
Without
the
major
budgets
cuts.
within the last 5 years, it's nowhere close.
Okay, so if that number's not realistic, and I agree with you.
And to keep everything we have now.
Right, and to keep everything we have. If we're gonna have to, and I agree, we're gonna have to find ways to increase revenue, and that's probably gonna come in the form of a property tax increase and some other things. We're also gonna have to attack this from the other end, in my opinion, and decrease spending. Find ways to cut from both ends. And the only way, and I've stated this on the record before and I'll state it again, the only way I will agree to raise property taxes is if we also do a comparable cut in spending, to try to attack this from both directions, to close the gap that we've created sooner rather than later and put us on better fiscal footing going forward. So my question to you is, based on what you just stated, your acknowledgement that this is going to cost us $28,000 more this year for insurance than it did last year, is it fiscally responsible to take that action knowing the circumstances we're in? I understand that it's just $28,000 and we're talking about a big number, but this is one piece of that.
I think in this aspect, you're talking more than just dollars. I think you're talking about employee morale. I'm talking about employee, I think if we don't, I've made, it's very important to me to give the employees a good policy. And, I guess if it's, I mean, that's to me it is, because everything that I've seen from him, from the HRA, I mean, you're talking about 125,000 more on the HRA side to even get close to what we have here. So in my mind, it's a good deal. And as far as employee morale and the employees feeling like, well, we're not taking the shaft again, I feel like it's in the benefit, in the city's best interest.
But is, with all due respect, is employee morale, and I'm going with what you said earlier about that if we did cut on the expenditure side of things, we would have to make some drastic cuts and there would be some hard decisions potentially. And you've even been approached or somebody has mentioned positions or what positions are unnecessary in the city. Is it more important to retain those positions? Now I understand, again, we're talking about $28,000, that's probably one position in reality, but is it more important to retain somebody's job or to increase, I've heard 2% raises thrown out in our current financial situation. Now we're talking about an increase in better insurance in our current financial situation. Is it more important to have a job or more important to offer those benefits?
Can I just, for clarification?
Sure.
The $28,000 increase, is that considering a premium increase over last year? Or not? Just so we got apples and apples and oranges to oranges.
It's apples to apples. This year, we're anticipating $463,208 premium and $100,255 in employee contributions. So that would give us a $362,953 net cost this year.
Yeah.
I guess probably the wild card here is that right now, if you kept the current plan in place, you're going to spend, if everybody, all the counts are the same, you're going to spend $77,900 the first 4 months in your fiscal year, okay? If the HRA continues to function like it is today, you're averaging $6,000 in HRA expenses a month. If you use the number, the hard numbers, the premium number, plus the 24,000 on the HRA, plus another 6,000 in run out. In other words, you're technically a month behind on your HRA, okay? That puts you at $107,900. That's between now and when the renewal is in November. I can't tell you what's going to be out there in November. If there's a claim, if something happens today or a month from now, and it throws the, I mean, these rates are, they won't, if something happened in August, United Healthcare may not even be on the table in November. And Blue Cross may come back with a higher increase. Same thing could happen, claims could improve, and the 15% increase goes to, 10 or 12. The wild card is the unknown of what's going to happen in November. And, there is a 2% trend that's not, that each month, it's actually 1.34%. You can bank on that. But the problem is you're in November and we don't know what those rates are going to be like. So, and I guess, from, what's happened in the past, when you're, at least if you do have the opportunity to look at it now with a continuous 12-month cycle that coincides with your budget, at least you know the number. So, but as far as, hard numbers, realistically, those are your only real numbers that you've got for your 12-month cycle for, beginning in 7/1 of, and that's keeping your, current plan.
Or going with one of these other plans that's maybe a little bit higher deductible, but less cost to the employee in the
What
city.
you were asking though earlier, what your hard costs were, and,
Right.
and that, I was trying to, kind of hit that home.
Gotcha.
And you can back it up, because you've got 2 fiscal years that you're dealing with here, and, I'd have to go back and, you'd have to run from 7/1 to 10/31 of last year and get that data to, kind of piecemeal the 2 plans to, together. And, but the other, you mentioned on the plan, when in our discussions, really from where you were prior to making those changes in November to where you are now, it's kind of the middle road on where you're on as far as plans go. Your traditional copay plan that is, your traditional, deductible and out-of-pocket plan that you've got in the that you'll be offering as well is a $2,000 deductible, 80% to $4,000. This plan that you've got here that is a deductible copay plan, it's a new plan, and it's, it may not be may not fit the needs of everyone. But if you're looking at traditional plans, it's more like the one on the alternates. So,
I just want to state, I hear Tom say employee morale. I think our goal is to come out with a better plan, but we still have to do it within our means. So, that's the question of, can we afford the, 28,000 increase in our budget is basically what I keep seeing that we're going back to. I think that anything, I'm not saying it was the worst plan ever last year's, but I think if we ask the employees, they want any kind of help. If we can make it a better, get some better plans, better prescription, I agree and echo, and I've said it before, one of the biggest complaints was when last year's budget, we came down and we had to decide where we were going to cut. We chose the benefits. I would have rather seen the 2% raise, and it wasn't because I didn't love the employees, but in the end, a lot of them, the employees said, I would much rather kept my benefits than got that 2% raise. And that's, at that time, we should have made those tough decisions to protect, I do believe, a good benefit package, kind of like Commissioner Bassell says in government. You know that you may not be getting the highest pay, but you have a good retirement and you have good health care, and it's kind of that, it kind of doesn't even it out, but it is a perk that you get. So I don't know that, I think anything that is better than what we did last year would it be appreciated?
Can I ask a question, Mayor?
Yes.
We've now come full circle, and it sounds like this insurance plan is gonna cost us more. If we kept the exact same insurance that we have right now versus this United plan, which one will cost us more next budget year?
That's an impossible question for me to answer because I have no idea what the rates will be in November. As of right now, if for some reason we could keep the same rates, which is right now, they've said they go up 20% on us, and then they backed off because of UAC. What is it, Tim, 14% or 15? So minimum, they'd go up 15%, so.
So if we know that our 361 is gonna go up 15%, which one's cheaper? The United plan or that plan?
Tim, since your plan is, let's compare apples to apples. If we put the plan we have now, started it in July 1, and we did the exact same things we're doing right now, what would be don't you have that premium here?
I can get it.
15% increase over that, looks like it's 415, 150. Is that what you have, Tim?
Y'all are spending each month, right now, $19,475 on premium on behalf of the employees for medical insurance. So 15% of the $19,475 would be an additional $2,921.25, $2,921.25.
So that's basically $36,000 more a year versus a $28,000 increase. It sounds like this plan's $8,000 cheaper. And they're getting better insurance.
268.
That's where I'm not following where we're going or whether we can afford it or not. If we stayed where we were, it's gonna cost us more money than getting these people a better plan. And I know Tom did a great job giving you the political answer to your question, Mayor. She wanted to know whether or not we could afford it or not. My question to you is, I hope it's not to be a statement. I hope you would not bring us a plan, present it to us, knowing that you couldn't pay for it. To me, I would think that would be malfeasance. So I don't think that you would do that. If this plan was what we needed to do, I believe you and Wayne have full intentions of being able to put this in your budget. Now, would that be a true statement or a false statement? Can you pay for this plan or not? If you can't, then we need to find something else, and I'll remove my motion. But if you were prepared tonight to bring us this plan, and it can be paid for, then I'm ready to vote. But if you cannot pay for it, you need to tell me now, and I will remove my motion.
I will let Mr. Hall follow up, but to my knowledge, at least since I've been here, I've never missed a insurance premium payment that's been due and don't plan to.
And my response to it is that it's the unknown of the HRA that could, instead of costing us 50%, it could easily go to 75%. We had an awful good year last year. You add that cost back to it, then that's my opinion, that the unknown of the HRA is.
So this plan is presented us tonight for passage because it is a solid $391,000 figure, and we know that's what it's going to be, and we can afford it.
That's what I was working off of.
Thank you.
Mayor.
Yes, please.
Commissioner Johnson, Tom, earlier, when he gave when he came back in with the numbers and talked about sort of the situation we're in, we tasked Mr. Hall and Tom several weeks ago to go and make a $4.2 million budget. He came in tonight and said, I can't make a $4.2 million budget. So how anybody can sit here and answer, we can afford any increase in anything, when he's saying, I can't do what this board has tasked me to do, that's malfeasance. He has said he can't do $4.2 million, which is exactly what we've asked him to do. So where are we going to find ways to make that number work? If that's what number we have to do our budget next year so that we'll be on a path to doing a reserve fund, putting $360,000 in a reserve fund, and still operating the city, I don't know how we can do it.
I think he outlined a few of the options. But until we get to that point, I'm kind of like you. This meeting is on the front end of where we need to be. Now, if it has to be done tonight because they have to be notified, we're going to have to make a decision tonight and move forward.
Does the law require us to tell them other than the policy is going to change?
Have to say that, it's my understanding that you've got to tell them that it is changing, who it's going to, and have, some plan provisions. I mean, you could.
Could we generalize it and still be
You
within
very
the
well
law?
could. In other words, you could take one of the plan designs that, because you can put 3 plans in, so you could pick a base that's livable and then figure it out.
Could we say something and be legal that says we are changing healthcare providers, and going to eliminate the HRA provision? Just something with real base language that lets them know that we're going to change, that there will be changes effective July the 1st, but not lock us in.
Kind of going in uncharted territory. I would think you'd be okay, but, I mean, all these new provisions are, they're all effective as of, no one's tested them. So, until somebody goes and sees the man in the robe about it and they figure out how they're gonna, and establish a precedent, then it's a rule, it's a law. Now, how they, how they interpret it and how strict they interpret it, I just know that it requires that you notify that there's gonna be a change, and, to the extent of what those changes are. And it's not on it, and the reason that it would have to be notified is that you're doing a mid-year plan change. So, if you're normal renewal, it's regular cycle. So,
Can we approve it and then not do it? Could we approve it and then just revert back to what we had?
that'd be the will of the commission.
Well, and I don't see why it's either, our only choice is either we stay where we are or we go to the one that is on the motion on the floor. When there's other options, because what I keep hearing Commissioner Crutcher saying, correct me, is there another choice in between? And, if that's the case, if we're going to have trouble funding, but a lot of times I hear either we take this plan or this plan, well, we can't compare the numbers of this year. And I think we can all agree that this year's plan needs to be improved. So the question is, did this plan or the Humana plan, Humira, is, I don't know, without having really time to sit here and go over, every one. I don't know if the cost yet is benefit, if it's, $5,000 cut, if that's worth it, a better policy might be the better option. And
Let me ask, Mayor, if we were not prepared for this tonight, why did we have the meeting?
well, the thing about it is I have what Mr. Commissioner Bissell gave it to me, what he did, but we didn't get Tim's until today. So, everything in this capacity, we just got it. Tim could have given it
So
before.
basically, we either vote for what was presented, or we need to have another meeting in a month or two.
Well, and I wanted to ask, what's our deadline? I mean, I know there was deadlines talked today when I was asking about it with staff. There was something about we had to have time to review the benefits, and what's the time frame?
Well, if you're changing carriers, then you're gonna have to, you know, mid-year, then there's gonna have to be a 60-day notification.
Okay.
You know, that was now how strict and exactly the information that needs to be communicated 60 days prior.
That's next week.
That's right, it's next week. Now,
May
it's
1st.
the end of this week, I believe, you're right.
Yeah, Friday.
Friday.
And I wasn't included. I know you met with staff and Commissioner Bissell. I would have been happy to attend that meeting. But, you know, the thing about it is, you know, so preparedness, I mean, I appreciate Commissioner Bissell sending what he did, or I really wouldn't have had any, you know, idea. We would have all just came in unless there was an email I missed. Did there come something directly from Tim?
I didn't get anything. I did have what Commissioner Bissell sent out, which was the plan that I think we were looking at going to, and then I had the spreadsheet that Donna put together, but I didn't have all these other options and really to be able to compare everything. I mean, it would have been nice to have, I know it's not your fault, but it would have been nice to have this before we met, because coming in and like a lot of other things that we do dealing with numbers, when we start throwing out numbers and we have to make a decision now, it's difficult for me to make a decision.
I'm with you. And so now we have 2 days. 1 day. We would have to meet tomorrow, because Friday's the 1st, correct? I just don't. If we vote for the plan that's on the floor right now, and we decide after next week's budget meeting that we cannot do that, can we rescind it and choose another plan?
I think we'd have to stay with the carrier, am I right?
It may cost the city more money staying with Blue Cross, so I think we vote tonight to approve this. This is my opinion. And then if we realize through next week's budget meeting that we can't do it, we just have to go back and find a plan with Blue Cross. That's basically our only option unless we meet tomorrow.
Well,
No, I don't think we
What,
can.
Mr. Hall?
I'm sorry, I think if we're gonna change carriers, we'll have to stick with that carrier for this as of May 1st. We can change plans, but we'll have to stick with that carrier, am I right, or?
The notification is if you're changing carriers, so I mean, if you decided you weren't, I mean, hypothetically, I mean, you're not changing, so there's really.
Then there's no deadline if we revert back to Blue Cross. That's.
Is that right, Ron?
That's how I would interpret it. Now, if you stay with Blue, and
But that's not what we're talking, that's United Healthcare with the motion is.
But if we decide to go back to Blue, if we never pay the first dime into United, we never took United. We notified them that we were going to, then we decided not to, we stayed with Blue.
I'm just not sure about our liability to, as far as changing coverage goes.
And I'm just looking at Tim's sheet here, but if y'all want to follow along with me, he's already outlined several policies. TWAL is the policy we're talking about. All right. If we issue a notice to the employees, I'm not going to vote for an insurance policy that has an HRA. That's a contingent liability that if we hope to restructure our debt and move in a positive manner, we cannot have contingent liabilities other than those things that we all have contingent liabilities, utilities, that sort of thing. We need to know what we're going to pay for health insurance for the employees, period. So, at the very least, we know that Blue Cross's policies without HRAs are higher than United Healthcare's policies without HRAs. So I think it's a fair assumption to say that if y'all feel like I do, that we need to get out of the HRA business, that we are going to change carriers, because it would make no sense to pay Blue Cross more for what we could get less at United Healthcare. Now, so that and to my mind, is that something we want to do? And the second question that we need to answer, and then we will have a better way of knowing where we want to go, is do we want to make the shift at mid-year, or do we just want to run the course and see if the rates will get better with Blue Cross till November? Which I'm not for either, because as soon as we make the change, we start saving money, the employees start saving money, and we start saving money. And there was a desire, when I accepted this charge, there was a desire that we get on the cycle with our fiscal year. So those are the things that I think we have to decide first. Because if we decide those things, then that gives us what we can tell the employees. We can tell them we are going to change the insurance policy. We are not going to have an HRA provision, and that details will be provided between now and July the 1st, but they are notified that we are going to change the policy. And I'm not an attorney, but that's how I read, when I read the provision, that's all we were required to do, is to let them know something different. Then, depending upon what the budget cost, what comes out of the budget meeting next Monday, then we have before us a policy, 3 different policies that we can choose from that give us better benefits for the employees. The TWAL, which I consider to be the best policy. The step down from that would be the TWAM, which the copays go up a little bit and the deductibles go up some. And then TWAN, as I read this document, where they go up again and the deductibles basically remain the same as what they currently are right now. But they don't have an HRA involvement. The city's is still. And if we went with the lowest policy, we would save 12% off the $391,000 amount.
Which is $47,000.
Which is $47,000, but are you not going to give some of that back to the employees? Are you going to charge them the whole amount?
You can if you're giving them less insurance. It's not fair.
Well, if you're giving them the same insurance, do you really increase their cost other than, that's my point. So you don't really get the whole 12%. That's.
Well, hang.
Taking the HRA away from the employee is.
Hold on, now, we're not, under that policy, we're not giving them worse insurance or the same insurance. I'm looking at the one that we have now versus this policy. It's a $2,000 deductible. I guess that's an individual deductible. Is this an individual deductible on here, or is this a family deductible?
Well, the current plan,
Yes.
it's a $4,000 deductible, and it goes 70-30, I believe, until you hit a 5,000 threshold.
Okay,
And
so,
then the city's reimbursing the first 50% of the first 4,000. So, as an individual, you're going to be out of pocket $3,000.
okay, and under this plan,
The problem, though, that hurts the folks that's different that prior to last year is that there is no HRA, there's no reimbursement for dependent coverage. So if somebody, for a family, the total out-of-pocket max is going to be $8,000. So you're $3,000 for an individual, but $8,000 for 8 for family.
Gotcha. Okay, that answered my question. Now go with me to the first page behind UHC. Are you there? I think you're already there. The third plan down, TWAN. Commissioner Basale's saying that plan is comparable to this plan, but in reality, that plan is a $2,000 individual deductible, $4,000 family, which would be $4,000 less than this plan. Is that fair?
Well, the out-of-pocket max, you're pushing to 5, okay? And that's,
Which is what it is on here.
right, but, they are getting an HRA. We're looking at no HRA on these UHC plans.
On here, it's 70% co-insurance. On here, it's 100% co-insurance. On this plan this TWAN.
Well, it's a deductible copay plan, so you've got copays. If you get in the, I mean,
Well,
it's an apple and orange kind of deal. I mean, they're really kind of hard to, worst case scenario on that TWAN, $5,000 for an individual and $10,000 for family. Worst case.
out of pocket, max out of pocket.
It's worse than what we have currently.
Right, with it's 3,000 per individual and it's 8 for family.
Yeah, I mean, I see the TWAM, but I don't know how much price difference that would,
Well, the $47,000.
It's 7%, it's 28.
7%.
percent
that was
of the
7%.
total.
$28,000.
So it would make up the difference of the 28,000 that we were saying that we didn't have. Am I seeing that right? By just going to that plan? And it's TWAM.
The second one, yeah, so what's wrong with that plan as a possibility?
Well, there's nothing wrong with it. My question was, in the proposal, when you're figuring out what the city's gonna pay, you have raised single employees by $25, which is a bigger than 7%, obviously, and you have raised family employees from 225 to 300. So they're both about 25% increases. Are you going to give any of the 7% that you just saved back to them? And so that, say for instance, a family is only going to go up from 225 to 250, and maybe an employee by himself doesn't go up at all.
But their deductible's going down 37%.
Their deductible's going down from 2,000 to 1,500.
Isn't our goal
I thought it was
to,
4,000. See, this is where I'm getting confused with numbers.
It's $4,000, but we give them 2 of the $4,000.
Okay.
So taking the HRA away is that's an immediate $2,000 hit.
So they're going down,
Detriment to the employee.
they're going down from 2,000 to 1,500. They make $500 on their deductible. So,
What's the difference in copays?
Well, like currently, or
From
on
the
those
current,
two
from the
plans?
current plan to go into the one we're discussing now.
You don't have copays right now. If you went to if you go to the doctor now and you're in the HRA and you're in that reimbursement arrangement, if you're eligible for it on the front end, let's say, the average cost for an office visit with Blue Cross, and let's just say you just had a sinus infection, okay? It's gonna be a $70 office visit, it's gonna be a $20 injection, okay? So it's a $90 total charge. The employee's gonna pay 45 of that, and the city's gonna reimburse the other 45. So they're paying $45, right now. So from any of those, anything under a $45 copay, would be an improvement. Now, the problem that you got though is that once you exhaust that HRA, if you've got family coverage, well, you're paying the full $90. So, you gotta put yourself in situations that, you can't just say it's gonna always be, $45, because that wouldn't be fair to say that.
Unless there's any other questions, I think that maybe considering what Commissioner Bissell suggested, maybe that we just take some time to consider if we can all come in the consensus that we want to go, with a united, and then that way we can do the notifications, but then we could take some time to determine what plan. What are your thoughts without going to a motion or amending the motion?
Well, I would amend them, I'm sorry, Mr. Hall had something, I think.
Okay.
What I was gonna suggest, you have 2 more days. You have a town hall meeting Thursday. You could call a special meeting. We've got time to do that. That'll give you a couple of days to digest this and see if you want to go that route or another route.
Unless he can come up with a budget we can take a look at, 2 days not gonna make any difference in
Yeah.
what we're talking about.
Yeah, I agree. I thought that too.
Well, then I would amend the motion to do what Commissioner Bissell suggested and have, whatever we need to do to comply with the Affordable Care Act or whatever other provision of the law it is to give notice to our employees, that we provide that notice now.
Second.
And then,
And I remove my original motion.
Yes.
I agree with what was said about the federal law. There has not been obviously any cases tried on it. That's where you normally get your best instruction, because I don't care if it's tried out in California. The Sixth Circuit might not do the same thing, but at least you've got something to hang your hat on rather than, well, I read the law and this is what I think. But I believe that if you're gonna do this July the 1st, your notice needs to include, and from what I'm hearing from Mr. White, there's not a whole lot of people other than these people that are here that's bid on it anyway. So I think if you're gonna remove the variable, which is, we've already done some stuff about removing variable interest rates and this kind of thing, and that's all this amounts to, is a big variable interest rate. That United, one of those plans is the one that you're gonna have to go with. The other thing I think you can do under the act, it doesn't have to be July the 1st. If you moved it to November, then you gotta give notice 60 days if you're gonna change before November. But, and I hear what Mr. Tom's saying, I think it's somewhat haphazard and easy to forget and easy to make mistakes when you've got one deadline in July and another in November. But I think on your notice, you would have to give them the notice that says it would have to include who you're going to. I don't think at this stage you'd have to say which plan, but that you're going to be changing to United, and the details will be forthcoming, at the beginning of the budget year. Because I think that the intent of the law was to keep me from coming up at the last minute and changing something and this type of thing. I think if you gave them that kind of notice that you're going to be changing the plan, you're going to go with United, whatever they are. Sorry for not getting the whole name, but you hear what I'm saying, that you're going to be adopting a plan from them, and the details will be provided to them in meetings between now and the beginning of the budget year, so everybody will be on board. Now, that hasn't been tried, but I think the real intent was to let people know in advance. And you're telling them, we're going to change from Blue Cross. I'd even put that in there. It'll be changed from Blue Cross Blue Shield, or whatever their official name is. I had a big row with that one time, but to United, whatever they are, effective July the 1st.
That was my interpretation of the requirement.
Well, that's my interpretation of it, but it hasn't been interpreted by a court yet. But I think, at the very worst, if we got sued, we'd be in some position where we could say, look, we didn't have a case on this. This is the way we interpret it. We tried. In that instance, I think it would buy you forgiveness. You know, we tried to perform, it doesn't say that you've got to give them the whole details of the new plan prior to that. You just got to give them notice that you're going to be going to a plan with United, whoever.
If you want to make a minute.
You already did.
I think I did.
He just
It was second.
He just made a new motion, I second.
He said, yeah.
Okay, no more discussion. So basically, just to be clear, we're going to make the announcement. Then how long can we wait before, can we wait till, I think the finance meeting's going to be rescheduled till Monday? And Tom was going to present, yes.
What's the required time for July 1st that we need to pick a plan?
Like, when do we need to tell
We're gonna have to
Humana?
transition
Yeah.
somewhere or another. A plan.
It'll be diplomatic. Technically, if you're information to United Healthcare, I'll be submitted June 30th. Okay?
More reasonable.
But that's gonna be it's gonna be a nightmare. You
Yeah.
know, really, what you'd wanna do is you'd wanna
June
have all the benefit communication meetings complete in May. And then.
By June the 1st.
You would want to, be able to submit to UHC by June 1st. And then that would give them time to generate cards, and so that everybody,
It's reasonable.
has a card in hand, July 1.
So if we took this up on our first May meeting,
Yes.
we should be fine.
And we can have a closer look at the budgets, know where we need to go.
United was not the one that put out this requirement, by the way, so I'm assuming they would have much more flexible standards than Feds put this out for everybody, so everybody's got to do the same thing.
Okay, well, then we'll take this to vote unless there's anybody. We had the amended motion, but you removed, so it's a motion on the table. Yes,
Just make sure I understand what we're voting for. We are stating in the affirmative that we are not going to have an HRA, or are we not making that decision?
There's no HRA included in the United Health Plan.
Well, that's correct, but I also heard us say that we might go back.
No,
Not in his motion.
I don't intend on going back.
Yeah.
I intend on getting out of the HRA deal, and from what I hear, to do that, we need to go with United. We just need to pick a United plan. That's what I intended by my motion, so if it was something,
Yeah, that was my discussion prior to his motion.
We are gonna do it July the 1st.
Yes.
I think we need to, so we can coincide with the budget.
I think those things need to be added to
Yeah.
the motion.
to make it
In
clear.
order to completely make a decision and move forward.
yeah, well, then in the motion, I guess what I need to do, just
It'd be
amend the
simpler,
motion.
just withdraw your second, withdraw your original motion and make a new one.
Okay.
So
I'll
that-
withdraw
that's
my second.
all Kinds of amended motions. You can do it with amended, but it's just simpler.
That's fine. So the motion will be for us to provide notice to the employees within the requisite time based on the ACA
As soon as possible.
as soon as possible, but no later than 60 days, that we will be switching from Blue Cross Blue Shield, or whatever the proper legal name of that entity is, to United Healthcare, effective July 1, 2015, and that there will not be an HRA component associated with that plan.
Second.
Okay, we have a first and second. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. One other thing before we adjourn, which I think we pretty much maybe covered some of this in the discussion, but we did have a special meeting scheduled for tonight, but Mr. Daugherty has requested that be rescheduled just due to the fact that they are still working on budget So with that being said, I just wanted to make a public statement for those that it will be rescheduled on Monday at
7:45.
7:45? Okay. So Monday at 7:45, and somebody, if you're quicker than me, give me the date of Monday.
May
I know the
4th.
first is Friday. Okay, the 4th.
And that's immediately following the park board.
Okay. So, for the record, the 4th, immediately follow. Yes.
Mayor, would it be more appropriate for us to call that meeting to order tonight and then suspend the meeting, and therefore it wouldn't have to be re-advertised?
Well, we could have done that. We did talk to, but it's been posted that we were rescheduling. We actually had some conversation with the attorney prior to this meeting. So with us already stating reschedule and posting it, we'll just reschedule it. It's probably the best.
Can I make a statement, Mayor?
Sure.
I just want the public to know that I will not be in attendance Monday night. City Manager Hall called me this afternoon apologizing to me for scheduling that meeting without conferring with us, because as soon as he realized it was done and it was already posted, when he called me, he's like, I knew you couldn't be there. So I just want to let that be known.
I think we might want to revisit that. I really, for the budget, I think we all need to be there. So, I mean, I hate to keep going back and forth, but, even though it's not voting on it, but it is a special meeting, I don't know, any other thoughts? I mean, I understand if we have prior obligations, but I would rather accommodate you than to move on. Yes.
I called Ron Rowe, who is chairman of the Park Committee, and asked him about how long he thought his meeting would take Monday night. And he said 30 to 45 minutes, so that's the reason we scheduled that. And then I called, talked to y'all about that, and then I talked to Commissioner Johnson. There is another option. If somebody wants to call the tree board chairman, they're welcome to, and see if they can move their meeting along where it won't take so long, and we can do it Tuesday night. That's my statement on that.
Any other input? I mean,
I can do either night. I don't, whichever.
okay. I mean, I don't want to, it's obviously not my decision, but I would like to move it if you want to try to be there too. And I would rather accommodate for us all to have that input, just especially since the conversations.
What's the earliest you could get here? Monday.
On Monday, if I have any kind of notice, I can normally work it out. We could potentially do,
And I'm just saying that for if we could start it at 5, or we could
Yeah.
start at 5:30, or we could
Do it
prior to Park Commission even meeting, and I don't see that there's anything that would prohibit them meeting at the same time we do. Is there anything that would prohibit that?
No, but you couldn't meet in the same place. I mean, I'm not trying to be funny, but
Right, but I mean, we could meet in here, or we could meet back there, or they could meet at the park,
They're
or.
met at the park for you.
So-
yeah, as long as you announce it, it'll have to be posted, the meeting for Thursday night or whatever, is rescheduled to Tuesday night at 5 o'clock at the Nature Center or whatever. You don't have to meet in here, but you're gonna have to tell everybody where you're gonna meet, and that we would have to, your notice would have to address the meetings that was rescheduled, has been rescheduled for when it's gonna be at whatever time.
6:45,
Yeah.
I'd be wide open.
okay, and I can make it work for my schedule for 5. I will just, for Monday, if that works for everywhere, would you, Commissioner Crutcher?
I can be here at
able
5.
to- Everybody else? Okay, that would probably work out. We'll change it from the 7:45 to 5, and then Mr. Hall, if y'all will do the proper notifications, we'd appreciate that. Okay, so With that being said, if somebody would like to adjourn the meeting?
Adjourn.
Okay, meeting adjourned.
Sure.